This illustration deals with outdoor outlets in accordance with NEC 210.8F. I would like to talk about the call out to identify what kind of unit we have here. And it said, well, this is a dwelling unit when you look at the dwelling unit at the top right-hand side of the illustration. And that dwelling unit, what is defined in Article 100. Secondly, let's take a look, and we have a garage or the receptacle there. It's addressed in 210.8A2, and that would have to be GFCI protected type receptacle. And then, of course, we know in second also that's an attached or detached garage in accordance with 210.8A2. Now, thirdly, let's look at these receptacles here. And it says 150 volt or less to ground. Receptacles located at 50 amps or less now outdoors. But notice this is just 150 volts or less to ground, which would include 120, 240 volt systems, 120, 208 volt systems is mainly what we're talking about here, which are addressed and outlined in 210.8F. I would also like to talk about, I would say fourthly here, look at the receptacle to the left below the garage. Call out, receptacles rated at 15 or 20 amp, 120 volt single phase, and GFCI protected, rated at 150 volts or less to ground, would need to be GFCI protected in accordance with 210.8B. And looking at item number 5, there's 2 here, and we're looking at that receptacle to the right now. And it's a receptacle rated 150 volts to ground or less at a rating of 50 amps or less. Now notice that could be a single phase, 120 volt, or it could be a 240 volt, because when measured to ground, you're not measuring more than 150 volts to ground. So you'd only be usually measuring about 120 volts to ground. And 5, it has to be GFCI protected. So we would look at that. And then the 6th thing I want to look at here, and you know, if you count them, receptacles not accessible up here. It's up here in the eave. Had a lot of problems with that. When they're not required to be GFCI protected, then you'd look at 426.28, 427.22, and 210.8A3, exception to 3, refers you to those areas for cables, heating cables, vessels, and things like that. So if that's the kind of receptacle that you'd have there for, say, for heating cables, not required. So we kind of get the rule there. And then the final thing that we would look at as far as I would like to call out for you, other than dwelling units, then we'd go to 210.8B4 for these rules, and notice that's for commercial or in industrial areas. Now, the main purpose of this change, which I'm covering now, is a new subsection. And it's been added to address that GFCI protection for personnel is required for outdoor receptacles supplied by single branch circuits rated 150 volts or less to ground with a maximum rating of 50 amps or less for dwellings, basically have been added to address deaths that are associated with outdoor outlets connected to equipment that has caused electrical shock in some manner.